Continuing our coverage of the campus protests, pro-Palestinian protests continuing all over the country. Let's take a live look at UCLA right now. It's 3 o'clock in the morning over there. You can see a lot of activity. Law enforcement actively responding to the students there at an encampment at the school. Hours earlier, the police deemed the encampment an unlawful assembly. Now, this is happening after a violent clash between demonstrators yesterday at that school. Well, today, the Florida chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations will speak out against clashes between law enforcement and pro-Palestinian protesters at the University of South Florida earlier this week. That resulted in arrests and the use of tear gas. It's a sharp contrast from the calm scene we saw yesterday on USF's campus. Our Angie Andrews is live for us outside of USF today. Angie, good morning. Where do we stand now? This is all happening as well with commencement happening this weekend.
Yes, good morning, Roy. That group you were talking about, they're also known as CAIR Florida, and they plan to hold a news conference at noontime today to condemn how the University of South Florida handled Tuesday's protests. They say when law enforcement got involved, tear gas was deployed. They say that law enforcement handled the situation with some force when students, they say, were peacefully protesting.
This was the scene late Tuesday afternoon on the USF campus. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office was called in to assist USF police. Protesters were seen scattering around campus as police moved their lineup to the area that protesters had been camped out at. It was just after 5 p.m. when officers deployed what appeared to be tear gas, arresting 10 protesters. University officials say one of them had a handgun in his jeans. And then following the clash, USF sent a letter to students saying the university values free speech, but the protest escalated to an unsafe level that required law enforcement to intervene. The university said students were told they had to wrap up by the end of the day, but protesters were clear they planned to stay through the weekend, which included commencement. The university also condemned the protesters' use of wooden shields and plywood, saying it wasn't safe. But this was the scene yesterday evening, just off campus. A very different feel as protesters marched through 56th Street and Fowler Avenue, ending on USF campus. Co-organizer Ali Abdul Qadar says Tuesday's arrests were a wake-up call. He says the fight goes on as they work towards seeing change from the university.
We are going to harden our hearts, harden our resolve, harden our steadfastness, and keep up the fight. The fight for USF to divest from Israel, the fight for the U.S. to end all U.S. aid to Israel, and ultimately the fight for a free Palestine.
And again, that press conference with CAIR Florida is scheduled for noontime today, but a big sticking point right now is commencement is starting here a little bit later today, at least for some of those graduate students, undergraduate students. As the weekend goes on, those commencement ceremonies will be held, but the state organization that oversees universities has reached out to different schools, making sure that protests will not be disrupting commencement. Again, unclear how things will go here at USF. Roy, back to you.